it's important now that we need to stick together. If Asians just fight for Asian people, then that's not going to be strong. I think the world needs to fight together because it's about humanity. It's not about color anymore.
Especially in a time of pandemic, that we together are better off than we alone.
We really need to face our shadows and become vulnerable because, like it or not, there's a lot of Asians out there that are racist. Okay, there's no denying that. So own that, right? Deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it and go, no, we're perfect, then they can use that against us.
Hello, neighbor.
Hello, neighbor. I was just going to say, Indonesia represent. Bagus.
Thank you. Yes.
Congratulations. Liu Kang in Singapore is a very famous artist.
Okay, well, now you have two very famous artists.
Exactly. Hi, Chin Han. How are you? Singapore is so proud. So I want to talk about the 1995 movie. And obviously, it was quite ahead of its time, but there was obviously controversy about sort of the Asian representation in that film. Now coming into this 2021 version, it must be quite exciting to be on a set as diverse as this one.
We felt like, this contingent from the Southern Hemisphere basically arriving on this giant Hollywood movie, and there was a great sense of community. I mean, it felt like an Olympic Village, really. When we were there.
It's beautiful for me. It's beautiful to present, especially me representing Southeast Asia, that I know a lot of people look up, and then when they watch the movie, they feel proud. The most important thing for me, I want them to feel that it's possible. If Chin Han can do it, Joe can do it. I mean, I can do it.
It is exciting, and it is about time. It's actually past due. Crazy Rich Asians waited over 20 years to before Joylet Club to have another full Asian cast. Mortal Kombat waited so long to get rebooted, probably because they thought they couldn't have the same miracle, or so they thought was a miracle again. I spoke to Robin Shu, who played the original Liu Kang, and he said it was a hard time back then, and it made me realize that we're just standing on the shoulders of giants, and we really need to do this right now. We need to do and strive for all we can, because otherwise we're not living up to their legacy. If we don't get our stories out there and we represent 60% of the entire world, how are we going to become together as one world if all you see is this tiny fraction of stories get represented?
Do you think Asian representation has changed over the years?
The needle has moved on that. I mean, but for a variety of reasons. I think one of the reasons is that I think you now have executives in studios and the heads of studios and producers, seeing Asian talent as viable leads and the people who can not only have the talent but the market value, in Asia to head movies. You also have more Asian writers and directors, and so you're working at from within and without. And I think the number of nominees during this Academy Award season, is an indication of where we're at in terms of that conversation.
We have to talk about the times that we live in, and there's obviously a lot of the anti-Asian racism. And I wanted to ask you, because I know, Chin Han, it's hard for us because even though we're Asians, we in our home country, we don't suffer that sort of same racism or the violence that comes with it. I wondered if you living in LA have ever experienced that over the years.
You are totally right in the sense that growing up in Singapore, when you are the majority, you don't even think about it, But coming here, when you are the minority, I think you begin to be aware of, how exposed you are to misunderstanding or fear. But at the same time, you do feel that there is an understanding especially in a time of pandemic, that we together are better off than we alone. I think people are starting to realize that now, that travel is starting to become a reality, that one country cannot be free of it and another still have it and have the world function as it used to. So I think as the ethos of Mortal Kombat is, reflected in the real world, it is a team effort.
It's important now that we need to stick together. If Asians just fight for Asian people, then that's not going to be strong. I think the world needs to fight together because it's about humanity. It's not about color anymore.
How do we speak up? How do we stand up for our fellow Asians who are going through this in a different country?
I was born in China and I grew up all around the world, right? So what I would have to say to my fellow Asians is ownership, take responsibility, face our shadows. We really need to face our shadows and become vulnerable, because like it or not, there's a lot of Asians out there that are racist. Okay, there's no denying that, right? So own that, right? Deal with it. Because if you don't deal with it and go, no, we're perfect, then they can use that against us. We need to move on from this. We need to stop strengthening ourselves individually as these tiny little factions and countries. Like, imagine if we just forget all the politics and all the fighting and actually form a global defense against the pandemic. That would have made a total difference. And that makes it even hard to actually go into the theaters and watch Mortal Kombat right now. That's what's frustrating to me. All right. At the end of the day, I want people to see this movie because I almost lost my life filming it. So let's not make this happen again. If we have a sequel, we want to see it as one human race.
China wins.